I remember one story, we saying, my teacher, my classmate. Can you imagine? Because the teacher who teach the children, he was only at grade 4. So when the school opened up to grade 4, he needs to attending the same grade. And that's where the teacher and the student have the same, becoming classmates. This is the situation we have during the early 2000s. When the country have peace, we expanding to those area, and we have faced with this situation. So the situation is not only after 1979, but until 2000, we still have facing this situation. So what we simply use the slogan that's time we use it, the person who know more teach one who know less. No matter whether you are a teacher or you are not a teacher, if you know more, you teach the one who know less. Yeah. And in addition, the human resource is lacking to all the facility, much more serious, like I'm saying, no one can imagine. Yeah. Furthermore, during the Khmer Rouge, they have destroying everything, but the country have suffered because of we have been divided in Southeast Asia into 2 blocks. Because of the Cold War, Cambodia and Vietnam, Laos becoming communist, while Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, you are much more on the capitalist. And Cambodia has been under embargo, the international embargo for more than a decade. And that's why it's making it really challenging for the country to recover, because the country has been down to 0 and then continue to suffer for another decade. And yes, this is how you see education have its structure. Because of war, because of the changes of the regime, you see from the 1950 to 1975, it was 13 years of the compulsory education. And then in 1990, from before 1985, it was only 10 years. So you can graduate, because we don't have resource by that time. So it's only 10 years of education. When the country becoming more stable, it expand to 11 years. Now we have 12 years of the education before you can go to university. Yeah, and this is how the education is structured. Today we have the preschool, we have the lower secondary, primary school, and also the lower secondary and upper secondaries. Yes, I would like to share with you that when since 1996, the government is trying to put the minimum instruction. It was around 850 hours per school year. And I think this is the minimum standard required by EFA, by UNESCO. And I know that in many countries, the learning teaching hour, it ranges between 1,100 to 1,350 hours per year. And in Cambodia, it's only 850, but you see what it is. So this is the achievement in today in education. We have the significant achievement. The facility, the teacher was deployed across the country, particularly in the rural area. Like I'm saying, since we have peace in 1998, we becoming expanded. And still, most of the education funds, it is also, I think, around 1/3 it supporting from the NGO sector, from international community. And you see, this is how the school, it was expanding from the 1981 to until now. So this is the total primary school in Cambodia, which is about, today we have around 6,760 primary schools. But if you look into here, this is where, again, when we trying to set up the primary school, again, there was a war, ongoing war for a long time here. And that's why it is difficult to expand the school to coverage area, and suddenly it declining and gradually build up. student net enrollment that have increasing from 83% to 95% in 2010. So the number of primary school students enrolled currently it was about, in the whole country, is about 2 million, around 2.2 million across the country. So you can see, and this is really increasing from time to time. And the reasons why it's declining here in this because of the effective of the birth spacing, birth control, the delivery was declining for the last 10-15 years. So I want to go quick to the achievement, but this is the challenges we have faced in Cambodia. Like I'm saying, despite a year of rebuilding, the education remains facing lack of facility and large classroom size. So lack of facility and large classroom size. We have shortage of qualified teachers and textbooks. This is really still challenging in Cambodian context today. There was a limited access or no access, limited or no access to additional reading materials, and high repetition and dropout rate. This is still remaining a problem. Like the classroom size today, it was the classroom ratio was around 44 per classes. So with all of these things, I want to go quickly to the quality of education at all levels. The challenge is root edge, you see, low qualification and poor trained teacher. This is really a problem with this we have faced right now. It's a low investment on government budget. Government, like I'm saying, if you look into the percentage of the national budget invested in education, the government have placed up to now is around 16% of their total budget, which is about, I think it's about $200 million. But if you divide into by per citizens, it was almost nothing. And most of the government budget is geared towards teacher salary, not even infrastructure. Infrastructure is rely on the support from international community. So the government budget, 80% of the budget is spent for the teacher salary. And today they still, although they're saying 850 hours per year, but the implementation they still implemented only half day. So students only go to school half day. They beginning official hour, they say 4 hours per day. But in fact, if you take off break time, if you take off the time where the teacher come late, leave early, that is the disaster. So like I'm saying here, the actual learning for students in urban area was around 600 to 750 hours, while remote area is only around 450 to 650 hours per annum. This is the researching done by many NGO in Cambodia. And the government is also trying to partly accept, partly no. Yeah. And you see, this is what I'm saying about the teacher. You can see the teacher's quality. Today we still have around 5% of the 4% of the teacher possess only primary education. 53% of them possess lower secondary education. Only 1.2% who have tertiary education. This is the problem in Cambodia. And this is also, it making challenge for reading. Consequently, you can see it. This is a student repetition rate by geographic coverage area. So you can see it. The children in the urbans in 2000 to 2001, this statistic indicates that the student, even in the urban area, you're seeing more than 20, yes, this of the grade 1, you're seeing in the urban area, 26% of them getting repeated. In the rural area, it was more than that. It was 28, but in the remote area, you're seeing half of them have repeated at grade 1. That was the statistic in 2001. The situation have improving, but it's still, if you look into today's statistic, it's still around 10%. And in the urban area, well, in the rural remote area, it was around 15% repeated at grade 1. And I think this is partly because there was no preschool in Cambodia. It was only available in the urban area. Well, remote area, there was no preschool. And sometimes the children come to school in the rural and remote area. Sometimes they came to school without even understanding print-rich concepts. They turned the book upside down. They never exposed the books, even before they went to school. And if you look into this graphic, it is talking about the survival rate. You're seeing the survival rate is it's here. It was in 2004, 2005. The statistic, you can see it. There was survival rate in the urban area. It was quite high. It was in the 2004, 2005 academic year. We have 65%. Yeah, but in the 2009, 2010, in the urban area, we have the survival rate. It's improving, come up to the 76%. But this is only for children who reaching grade 5. Yeah? But if you expanding to grade 6, you're seeing it's still in the urban area, in the rural and remote area, it was only half, almost around 60%. Who had a survival, who could complete in primary school. And out of this number, let's say 100 enrolled 6 years ago, there's only 60 of them remained. Out of this 60, it's only 30%, 38% of them could go to secondary school. And I want to share with you, this is the pupil-teacher ratio. You see, it's still very high. The reasons I'm trying to show you the pupil teachers here, it is, you can imagine with this ratio, how can the teacher teach reading? How teachers interact with the student? It's very difficult. It's very difficult to control it and interact and trying to promoting reading. So what is the reading habits in Cambodia? So I want to go back again, the legacy from war and genocide regime on the reading habits. Before and during the French rule, the knowledge was passed on by oral tradition from one generation to another. There was very limited records on that. Mostly people learning from memorizing. And this has been transferring by mouth, oral, from one to another. So until early 1950, like I'm saying early, until we have independence from French, which is from 1950 to 70, that's where the writer, publisher, and printing industry begin to emerge. Pool of reader and publisher and marketing gradually increase. Only that time we start to increase. Writer, illustrator, publisher, this begin to emerge. But the wars in 1975 and the genocide in 1975 is completely destructed this positive social emergence. So under the genocide regime, like I'm saying, they kill most of intellectual people. Oh, I'm sorry, this has come to things. So this is my first part is trying to culture of reading, which was have the implication from war and genocide. So you see, this is culture of reading in the society. Culture of reading in society was prevent and discourage. People saying, many people, when they came to Cambodia, they say, oh yes, Cambodian is not a reading society. Cambodian is not reading culture. Cambodian is so lazy, you are not reading. But I told people, reading habit of reading, it's not a one day. You cannot using like a magic. If we have a magic wand like Harry Potter, I can make it. Yeah? But in fact, it's not. Habit of reading, it has so many things. And that's why I'm trying to sharing with you that why What is prevent and discourage habit of reading? People do not read because they are illiterate. And they lack of basic skill that enable them to read. Because it came along with enjoying reading. Reading for pleasure. If you cannot even understand and lack of basic skill, you will give up. You will give up. And that's where the habit of reading should begin. Lack of role model and money to purchasing reading material. This is a really problem because reading habits is involving a role model from parents from many generations. It's not a one day. And I think parents, this is problem, parents in the rural remote area did not see greater benefit from having better education or beyond know how to read and write. Because for parents in the rural remote area, they see only two things. They say education, it is about read and write. If you want to go pursuing further education, upper education to university or to high school, unless you want to be a government civil servant or you want to be a worker. But if you are a farmer, if you are normal, ordinary people, you don't need education. This is really a big mistake. Like Dr. Kall was saying, learning is requiring this 4C, critical thinking. Learning is improve our critical thinking skill. Learning it helps to build our exploring the outside world. Learning it helps you to gain a better quality of life. Learning it helps you to think better. And that's why I will keep telling people, you have been cheated because you are not educated.